ויולך Havayeh sayam v'gem. You know, Maamar the Master says, this was a Maamar Keitzicha, the Maamar. It wasn't Maamar with the negative Maamar, the Shabbos B'Shalom. The Maamar does that, Shnei L'fnei Shishim Shana B'Shnas Tov B'Sam Avod. So Muvagam also there is brought the Maamar Azer Vatikunim She'erin Sof L'Mayla Adin Kes L'Mata Adin Tachlis. Which this Maamar Azer was inspired by Maamar Dei Ma'ilul. So we have the Tikkun Ezer of Erin Sof L'Mayla Kes L'Mata Adin Tachlis. B'chulei Ev Shloime She'ini this some of this whole Erich is there. What's the pshat when they say that in Shabbat is l'mayla adikes l'mata aditachlis? So I'm not going to go into the whole prata devarim of how the shilas that he asks on this chazal, but the nekuda is what we can't uptouch that when the tikkun ezer says l'mayla adikes l'mata aditachlis who idin ayichedes. I mean, l'mayla adikes means the fact that a lukus has the shleimus of being beheld. I'm saying a pashtus. L'mata aditachlis is the fact that a lukus has the shleimus of being begili. This Indian of the fact that he has the shleimus of being begili and the shleimus of being behelim, there's the way it is in air, and there's the way it is in the darga b'chaylis. Now, this tikkun ezer, which says eir sof l'malak es mata d'tachlis, what is the tikkun ezer talking about? Is the tikkun ezer speaking about the darga b'chaylis, or is the tikkun ezer speaking about the darga of air? So then talk the Rebbe that from the Maamar of the Friedrich Rebbe comes that the tikkun ezer is speaking about the darga of air. Because the Friedrich Rebbe says that the shtei madreges here shephersh gadol b'nei. So Chulev Shalom Machine is Safalama Kasamata in Tagasin Aychebs. Can word him just on above. Means not word him just on above is that the Tikkun Ezer is Kaya and Chebs. Word him just on above that the Indian of what does it mean Lamata din Tachas? What does it mean Lamaila din Ketz? You have it the way it is in the dark of Yechebs. Word him above that Atzmos is not Mugder, and because he's not Mugder at all, he's not Mugder that he has to be in a state of Helen. So he's Yochel Lahayr. He's not defined, and therefore he can be begili. An etzem which is defined, so he's an etzem, and gili is nachat nur. Mashiach atzmos which has no definition at all. So yochel lahir. Not that in the is lamayl l'gaviatzos, because he's not defined at all in any mode. B'meili can be begili. That's yechidus lahir. And al derech zeh and he's not mugder. He doesn't have to be in a mode of gili. Eberville can stehen in zich and not be begili. Childish lahir. So that's steht in Small that there's two dargahs. There's the way this in of Erin Sal Malaketz is in Eir. Steht in Purish, not in the Maamar of Kiimcha, in the Maamar of Adam Kiakriv. The Gemara in is the Maamar of basically the way it goes is in Vayolech he brings this to Ezer Malaketz Mata Nefachas and Efret what's the pshat the Malaketz Mata Nefachas, and he explains that's the whole Arichas Advarim. He explains that the Malaketz is the Keach Hagili and the Lamat and Beifin Kloli, and the Malaketz is the Yichid Shalei Lahayr, the Indian of Heder Hagili. And the Lamata Detachas is in Agilu. Then the Maamar of Kiimcha he says that there's two madrigas. There is the Eir and there is the Darga B'Chelis. And in Yechelis we're mufshis from the Inyanim of Gili and Hell. But he's Yochel Har v'Yochel Shalei L'Hayr. And from them come to raise that in Eir there's two Tnuas in Eir. There's Eir HaMispashet and there's the Eir which is higher than Geder Gili. I'm not saying B'Dir because the way he touches Maamar is not like the way he touches in Tafshinyut, but that's the. But the Rebbe read that saying the Rebbe read what's the Pshat in the Tikkun Ezer? So you could have said it when the Tikkun Ezer says Erin Sof, maintain the Darga V'Chelis, which is also in a certain way a Darga in Eir. The Darga V'Chelis, that's why there's a Havayeh. There's not Erin Sof. What's the Havayeh of the Tzimah Yechelis? Because there is in some of Seder Dach that the Yechelis he calls it also an Eir which is in the Darga V'Chelis. That I'm just saying if you learn the Maamar of Kiimcha. The Safa Maamar, so there's a Dargan Eir, which is Darga B'Chelis. So first thing is the way the Friedrich Rebbe teaches is the Tikkun Ezer Zicher Nishtaz. Because the Friedrich Rebbe says that based on the Nana V'Yol there himself is two Dargas. If it's two Madreges, that means there's not Yechelis. And Yeshev Shgadol B'nei. And in Yechaz can come in and say Madreges, Kim Yechaz Lar Yechelis Lar Yechelis Avis. So what we see from the Friedrich Rebbe's beer in Tafshin Yud is that the two inyanim of that the Tikkun Ezer read men out in the dark of Eir, not in the dark of Yechelis. Will does say that the Maamar Adiketz that's Eiser. He's basically a Maamar Chazal. Eir is a Maamar Adiketz. So the Maamar the Friedrich was touching this Maamar Chazal that is going in the dark of Eir, not in the dark of Yechelis. Yesh leheisiv shemavad echel zema bur behem Maamar diyamay lula and ikatay keshaper. It's also muchrer from the beer and some above. It's interesting. Hine the hemshas some above shal makim levar pirish in itself. Do a kushya. There's two pratim in some above. There's the Maamar of Zes Chukas. When the Maamar of Zes Chukas, the Rebbe Rashab is Meirich there. The Chadal Rebbe that what's the pshat Ein Sof, that the Ein Guf is Ein Sof, not an Ein Shel Ein Sof. That it brings the rayas. One of the rayas is because if Ein Sof is going on Atzmos, you should have said Ein L'Tchila. But das is in the Maamar of Zischukas, I think. But in the Maamar of Vayolech, he brings a raya. Abshas state in Zayar Ein Sof. What is Ein Sof koya? What do we mean when we say Ein Sof? The Gevem Eretman Ein Sof. So there in Vayolech state that Ein Sof cannot be not the lashon Eir Ein Sof. When he's speaking about Vayolech, he's not speaking about Eir Ein Sof. When he say the term Ein Sof, the Gevem Eretman, it's a machlekes in Kabbalah between the Ramak and the Kabbalah and the Rishonim between Sof koya lakeser, a whole shakratari there. So there it says that you cannot say that Ein Sof is koya la'atzmos, which is not like the Ramak. The Ramak learned that Ein Sof is koya la'atzmos, and of them bring their rayis in Kiyim in Vayolech Tzmachav that you cannot say that Ein Sof is koya la'atzmos. Why? Because dua kushiv is lama kara b'shem Ein Sof, le b'shem Ein L'Tchila, shema li'yiseder. Because about a member say for the charim, you call kadmen nitzchi, we call nitzchi kadmen. Something you could have certain things which they have a beginning, but once they're here, their existence has no agbola. But that's I'm saying the anything that has a beginning by definition has an end. Because if it has a start, that means be'etzem doesn't exist. For a certain reason it came into being. So it's going to be limited according to the reasoning or according to the matziv leitvas matnam together. Masha'inkin, the point is there's certain nivraim, even though they have a kadmon that tchon of Ein Sof. But a kadmon, if he has no beginning, savadi is nitzchi. And also the Havana Seinin. Havana Seinin is saying in the Musik of his man. But also in the Havana Seinin, kol kadmon nitzchi is something, the Eivish is Mitzias, which doesn't begin with that something. His being stems from his etzem. As a zamin Seder Dach was dar sein. Mitziusay is nevea me'atzmusay. It's a zas sort mahus, which mitzad is mahus he has to be. So he's not dependent on any matzah. The me'ele is Ein Sof. Something you say, something that be'etzem doesn't exist. It came into being at a certain point in time. It came into being. So that type of being is going to have agbal because it's only here according to where it was brought. It's here. Mashayk is something which his being is nevea mitzad the fact that Eretz Azamin Seder Dach, which is, so he's not based on any matzah. He's here. He's not. His mitzias b'shtetish that he's technically here. It's Azamin Seder Dach, which is. So in Meilis, it's Ein Sof. Kol kadmon is nitzchi. His mitzias doesn't begin with a certain matzah. The Meilis is nitzchi. So kol kadmon is nitzchi. So the Pashas, the way the Rebbe Rashab says it is, you can't say that Ein Sof is koya ala etzem because then you say even a bigger mile. Say that he's a kadmon and once Ein L'Tchila, b'Meili Ein L'Tchila. Al Einshim Rabban and Rabbi Nitzchim Ratzon Abayra. Al Einshim kadmon is also Beis Baruch Havad. Shulavadi yu kadmon. Shemitzis metzmos v'im nesiv acher sal tashon. Mashek nishanim tzem kulim chodoshim ayin liyesh. Kivan shikar. The word over here is not stam that he should have said a mile say. This is not the get of Lam Shchamayim. You have to learn, not learning Vayolech now, but just the point. He's not just saying that you can't say that Ein Sof is koya la'atzmos because if so, he should have said a better shvach. It's not a question of a better shvach. The taich Ein Sof is different. Something which is not a kadmon. So Ein Sof is, he's a certain, he doesn't exist, his mitzias has a certain tziyur. What his mitzias is? I mean, be'etzem is nishtah. He was brought into being. If he was brought into being, that his existence is based, that he's a certain inyan, a certain mitzias. What is this inyan blikvo? All of it, the Eivish wanted there should be a mitzias, which in Yoni is blikvo. So the definition of this mitzias is Ein Sof. Shittas, blikvo. Mashiach Atzma says not that his definition is blikvo. There's no concept of definition. He exists. His existence doesn't have a touch. If you hear mitzat something, you hear mitzat a certain ratzon, a certain tnuah. So you have a certain purpose in your being. You have a certain intention in your being. You're not here be'etzem. You're here because someone had an interest in creating you. So you have a certain inyan. The inyan of Eretz is Ein Sof, blikvo. Mashiach Atzma says his mitzvah is not based on a certain inyan. Before any inyan exists, his mitzvah is so that's not Ein Sof. Not that his inyan is blikvo. His inyan, there's him. If there's him, there's no Agdaris. Whatever he wants is going to be. Not a gather of Ein Sof. So Mela, it's not correct to call Atzmas Ein Sof. Ein Sof means that his inyan is blikvo. The Eivish's inyan is not blikvo. So there's stuck in inyan. There's only him himself. So the Lashon of Gadav Zen Ein L'Tchila. There's no beginning. His existence stems from his own self. The Mela, there's no taich to this self. He's not bound by anything. So we should have said Ein L'Tchila. Yeah, that's the Nukud. That's the Rebbe's Meisef here. That's the question. That's the Samayli is. So much let's get the Rebbe didn't say all this pratim in B'shaz Rebbe said the Maamar Vayolech. A Kaplan so dir we have a Raya, so was that's dort in some of that's a Raya that dort in Retter and Vayolech, that when you say the term, when it says in Kabbalah the term Ein Sof, it does not mean Atzmas. Because if it's Atzmas, it's hat man gedacht sagen Ein Tchila, not Ein Sof. Das sagt er dort. Beim Hillel der Rebbe saying the Fizeh, the Tikkun is there says Ein Sof, can man nicht reden wegen Yichel. That the Rebbe is taking this. Because Yichel also is Kadmon. Let's get the Rebbe sagen. Das steht nicht dort in Vayolech. That the Rebbe is saying here. It says, it says in Vayolech, Adregesh Nikra Ein Sof, his B'china Sa'er. And then, this is not a Vayolech, I think. The fact that Aval in Yicheles, which is Amitis in Yicheles, is also Kadmon Kikadmose. That's Retter in the Maamar of Kimcha. In Yicheles, in B'china Sa'er Klal, Yima Yicheles Lahor Sheyesh Ba'atzmas, B'china Sa'er Yicheles, Kadmon Kikadmose is Baruch Mamash. Also, so the Rebbe is saying the same way, the same hechrich that he has in Vayolech, that Ein Sof geht red nicht auf Atzmas, because Atzmas in the Tchila, the same hechrich you have that it cannot be we can't be referring to the Darg of Yicheles. Because the fact that the Atzmas is Yachil is also Kadmon Kikadmose. This also needs a beer, but that's stay there. That the Indian of Yicheles Lahoyer is Kadmon Kikadmose. It's not Nischadish. Eir is Kilis Kein Shekad Me'aheder. It's not Kadmon. So the Eir is Take Ein Sof. Hashek in Yicheles is not Ein Sof. Yicheles is also Kadmon Al Derech Ein Yitchil. Yicheles Atzmas. Okay. Das ist Ein Sof. Mehr hat man eine Reihe, dass going to say that wegen Eir, nicht wegen Yicheles. אז זה שייך למר אין להתחילה. פיזה מובן, שכימה שלושה מאמר הזה ותקונה מו אין סוף. אז אין סוף דייק, הרי כל סלם שלא יקל לבחינה סייכל לצייר. אוקיי. הם מצד התייר אין סוף, שאין נפל לבחינה סייכל לשיקדם קדמוס יסברך, שאין להתחילה, והם מצד אין נער, דלושן אין זה שייך לבחינה סייכל, שאין לבחינה סייכל, שאין חבר. You have the state of
I don't think they have the enough rules of the...
Yeah, but there are other, you have the old one. State of the Nazamar. It's Chanos, it's just... No, I don't remember that. Kama Lashon yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. So another thing is that it says Eir, and Yicheles is a Prat and Atzmus. Das ist ich nicht verstehen, because in Kiyimcha, in Samavav, the Yicheles had the Pesatam with Eir. Okay, das ist verstehen besonders. But Yicheles is that the Atzmus is Yochel. The Atzmus is Yochel. The Meile, so it's not a getter of Eir. Okay. Yeah, this line is sort of weird, this line. Because you have some Samavav here. They don't learn Samavav, but if you learn Samavav, then... This word, he says that the Lashon here, that the Yicheles, you cannot say that it's Yicheles because it's the Lashon Eir. So, the Lashon in...
He calls it Atzim.
He says that it's the Lashon... You see the Lashon here. He says Leibchinas Eir in the beginning, but he says later... Let's see the Lashon here. Kad Musay, wie steht es? Aber bei Jesu Juven ze bei Jesu kol b'mar. Was ist kol Yicheles? Im Kena der in hu shmei u kmei hulavat, shein kad shum davar zul samar, ma she bichot eloher. V'zeh shnikar shmei v'lei mamish. Kmei she begiler is nikra Aber ikr b'china shmei ksh kol b'mar. Shach lekez ksh begiler. But this Yicheles he calls, it's the way the Eir is called b'atzvus hamor. It's not, Yicheles is the Eir the way it's called on the Mor.
But then he
says, in a nikra Eir, kim shmai, hu kadm kadmuse. But it's not that we're dealing with atzvus. Whatever, it's Eir ha-kol b'atzvus hamor, mamash, which is taken up, b'chinas Eir, b'chinas shmai. Whatever, I'm just saying the... Okay. Good. So we say you have to add a word. Eir is when the Indian is the Gilu. When it's V'yicheles, Eir ha-kol b'atzvus hamor, mamash, so it's nikra shmai v'leir. Okay. Okay. Huh? Yeah, it's Nikra Shmei V'le'er. But we're saying it's not the Lashon, the Lashon Mashma says, it's not Eir, it's Atzmos. It's like the Eir HaKol It's the air, the way the air is cold b'mar mamish. It's not stam. Okay, that's not chazak. Ikra hechrichu, mash kosev hem shechai lulu, shviz nanem elu, ikra hechrich, diese hechrichim, what you can't touch in the air in sof, redt sich yereg in yechelis. Because yechelis sof kosev is yer era kol b'amar. And you could say that, you could say that Ein Sof, yechelis comes out in the word Ein Sof and not in the tchila. But the ikra hechrichu, mash kosev hem shechai lulu, shviz nanem elu, is, that is based by the regis. Vishav shechai shechai b'neim. That means the samachvav, this is the gift that Rebbe Tzvi which means the samachvav, it's not, there's no hechrich in samachvav that you can ezer ret in the bag of air. Samachvav came and teachen that, because samachvav has a svara that this raya, that in Sof, the Retzach is wegen Atzmos, is not a raya muchrachet, because in Sof could mean shtulas kol atayr, in Sof means a mitzvah in Sof, there's, and al teres the meaning of in Sof, the musik of air is dafke to shayach to say the gabe Atzmos. There's these rayas that the Rebbe brought, they're not rayas muchrachis. And it's not eis getesh in samachvav that when he says in Tikkun Ezer, Eir Nitzil Ma'ala and Ketz, he's speaking about Eir and not Yechelis. It's not eis getesh there. But the Hechrich Gomor is from the Frierdiker Rebbe in the Hefshel Tavshin Yud. From the way he says that the two inyanim are two madreges and Hefesh Gadol B'neim, so he's clearly teaching that the Tikkun Ezer, that's like an Eir and not about Yechelis. So now the question is, why isn't the get to be madgish in this way? Stam so uptouching the two inyanim, so Havayeh also, the two inyanim of the Malachas Mata and the Tachas, he explains some of also. But there is not madgish. He doesn't touch that the two inyanim are an er and not Tikkun Ezer, speaking about er and not Yechelis. The main thing is the two inyanim, what's the Malachas, what's the Mata and the Tachas. And there's darkness, there's ways in Yechelis, there's ways in the way it is in er. Why isn't it get to be madgish in the Maamar of Tavshin Yud that it's a dafke two darkest in er? Shloime tam shemadik shmaim reilu shvizin non b'din sil malik es matin tachas u'mizot is in sof. Velik fish didn't say bichel satzmas. Why? Because that's negate what he wants to bring in the Maamar. The Maamar he brings this whole Tikkun Ezer to explain the eitzes which are given to the chayolim, to the Anshe Muhammad. And for the eitzes negea that lish the lamayla they catch the way it is in atzmos, the way it is in yechelis, but the lamayla they catch the way it is in er. It says in there in sil malik es who Maamar looked the bar sin in the eitzer lamayla. Which what's the Shazama shnis not shechal de pkidei chab shnis such chacham menagid. Kiven sheinin der in Sof lamayla is the inin of eitzer. So therefore we have to say that it's dargan er and not a dargan yechelis. And the Rebbe says kamat pratim b'davar zeh. Which b'chlal this we have different Maamar like that. That I'm thinking of the Maamar of slip through the Rasal the Maamar. The Rebbe goes through mitzvahs. This is the which Maamar is Kaplan, but see, you have many Maamarim. The Maamar of Shevat, the Rebbe is mafshit more going Mamata Lamayla being mafshit more the Makabetz, the Lamayla Adin Ketz. There's Makavarachik has Ashpa. There's higher. There's the Hecher from Makavarachik, and there's Istimos and it's even by the Mashpia Gufetz in of his Amos. More and more being mafshit. Here the Rebbe is saying the other side. Like the Rebbe finishes off in the Maamar of Vasilagani. That since this Lamayla Ketz is given to the Anshe Muhammad, and in order for as a very Zeir Indian, we're not speaking about the etzim the way he is Batzmusik, Mufshat Gamri. That this etzim should be nimshach to the Anshe Muhammad, mevazvez the eitzis in a way that should become the Mekabel's Indian. Does a very Zayin Lev in this eitzah, and he should use it for Nitzach and Muhammad, even Machadevel. So we're speaking the other kav, not the way the etzim is Mufshat the Gamri from Shaykhis to Metzias, but the way the etzim is given to the Anshe Muhammad in order for that should be their Metzias. On Ibn Machadevel. So the Rebbe starts off here. The reason why the Frierdiker is madgish in the Maamar, that it's here there is coming to that we want to be madgish here. That it's not an inyan which is mufshat legamri from Gedra Mitzvahs. It's an inyan which is nirgash and a part of the system of Mitzvahs. It's something which you could live with. Something that you could be a part of your Mitzvahs, not just inyan of avshata, inyan of Hedra Mitzvahs, inyan of bittul b'tachas. What the Rebbe is madgish and Arabas Legani is the fact that the Makav Achezer is mufshat legamri from any of Metzias and Gilik. Here the Rebbe is saying fakir how this Inyan Atzmi is the mechuven is that should become your Metzias. The Seichel is mid. This is all Metzias. The whole mode of the Maamar is fakirta mode. There's a Maamar of you have many Maamarim. The Rebbe goes in such a seder. The first the Rebbe is you say the being shaylel that no Metzias is anything as makam the Gabi Lukus. But the Eibish's kavana is that he shouldn't stay in Eifin of Avshata and Shlilas and Metzias. That should become the Metzias Ara. You have many Maamarim in such a Where's the Maimer? He brings the David HaMelech about Zmir Seder Dach. The David was Yachid, not Echad. Mitzvah Saratz Na'atzim, what Maimer does? Famous Maimer, famous Maimer. We'll look at David. No one remembers. But there it's very, very sharp. The
Megala Amaratz Rabin.
It's mine, that's it. On the same boat. Where does it ever bring the Zvir side of the Chukach? The East does. Famous man. But mitzvah, there is what Chukim, Eder Chukim Mishpatim. Chukim is Ratz Na'atzim. Not in order to be Payal Bittel. Okay, so that's the Maimer.
Sorry.
So that's the Maimer. Okay. And the other half of the Maimer is it has to be Echad, it has to be also Mitzad the Metzias of the Matter. Not that. Okay. Let's see. So let's see what the Rebbe says. Oh, sagt er also, Kibosh in der Salman gets to in the Yitzchak now.
Alle nächsten Schritte zusammen.
Huh?
Alle nächsten Schritte zusammen.
Then that's the member of Chayel member. No. Anyways, no shame. You make so he says like this. In there, Salman gets who member Luluk. The last so we said this already. Kibosh in there, Salman gets who in the Yitzchak now. Ef Shloime Shekabon the magic say Chelis. Why? Because they say Chelis in Yeshua Metzias Klal. I feel like Meitzer Atom. So first thing the Rebbe says is that it's nicht as achos bekan leben mit them. It's higher than Geder Metzias. The Mechuven is there's people Anshe Achayel which they have to do their arbeit in L'Natzech Samucham. We're giving them ices that they should be able to incorporate, so to speak, in their life. They should live with it. They sollen sich übergemacht werden mit them. So it has to come by Hergish, has to come by Gili. Yechelis says that there's no Metzias. There's no Metzias. It's gar nicht da. So he's beyond any form, but it can all sein. It's not that there's an Indian of and an Indian of Etzen, or Indian of Lamaila, Indian of Lamata. Not that it's in is that it's Nirgash there's an Indian Etzen. There's a Lukus that's higher than Shaykhis the Zulas, but it's Meir Asayin. That there's a Lukus which is higher than Shaykhis the Zulas, and it's Nirgash. There's a reality of a Lukus which gives you Sismakim to Zulas. So then you can make kabels on the Indian. You could live with it. You could be pilot. And it could be pilot to know a bittul. That means before the dogma of Nesias or the dogma of Nasa. A yid he could live his life based on the avodah of the Eitzer. It's because it's nirgash that there's an etzem which is shelo gilu, but that's nirgash, that's made. In a chelis there's no metzias. There's no before the concept of metzias is a chavish. Your chelis is an atzmos which is shlilas kol hatayri. There's no definition. There's whatever he wants. That's not that there's no concept of reality yet. So that's not shaykh to say. The argument it's the way it is higher than the ability of the expression altogether. So the Malach as we're speaking about in the Maamar is it's in of shlilas agili, but shlilas agili the way it's mortgaged, the way it's made. And a person can be affected by the sin. You can live with that. But Shekin Chelis is before the whole concept of mitzvahs. The atzmis of alakus. So that's not an Indian which you could say that the Anshe Echel living in a real world in a mitzvahs zon kind of live with them should be affected by it. That's the first thing the Rebbe says.
The same way you manage to get that Amitis Hamakif that has no shaykhs whatsoever.
But the word is that it's nirgash. All the Gemara speaks is it's nirgash in the there's an which in Inyani is shlilu. There's an which in Inyani is skalulus ba'etzah. It's a hergish. There's a tnu of eskalulus. There's a tnu of metzias which you're in a mode of hashpa, and there's a tnu of metzias that the mode is being ceasing to exist. Ceasing to exist is a certain tnu of bittul. There's a metzias which is experiencing bittul and atzmas. His skalus ba'atzmas. Yechelis is there's no concept of a metzias in Yechelis. There's the etzem which is ein sof. There's neibishter. There's before the concept of metzias came to be. Whether there's gili, whether there's no gili. The gili is chayzer miskala ba'atzmus. There's no concept of gili. There's him. There's no concept of gili. So there's not shaykh to say that the inyan of alakus comes in a form, in a tnua, which a person living, doing his Havayeh can live with them. So since the whole Mechuven of the Maamar is to explain how the Anshe Achayel get an Eitzer and they're able to be affected by it and live with it and to inspire the world with it, that for Neden Vegen Azach, which is an inyan nirgash mitzias. An inyan atzmitag, an inyan which is higher than Gilu. But how Gilu is affected by an inyan which is higher than Gilu. However way you say it, but it's an which in Yana is Chayzer Meskal Batzmus. So the way the etzem is negesh and air, not the way the etzem is before the concept of Metzias exists or came into being. That's the first thing the Rebbe says. So, Kivan Shin there so long because in the Yevshim Kavan Allah says, "Come on, in Nishum Metzias Klal. I feel like my Yetzer Atom." Well, as come like Yetzer Kishman is Galav written by Pelach Echad. Who's already died? There's the Yetzer, there's the Indian the way it is be'etzem, the Eir Shalif Netzim. And the Rebbe is going to touch later. Here we're not dealing stam the Eir Shalif Netzim. Saf kol saf this Indian is nimshach to the Anshe Achai. Means that this tnu of Makeh be'etzem is the way it affects a person doing his Havayeh here in this world. Here the Rebbe is speaking the other cuts. We're not dealing with the hafla of L'mayla Adin Kes the way it is in the Sherish. The fact that it's an Indian that a Yid living down here is able to live with it. Look at them, that's for them is the gear, that's Indian in air. And air, sof kol sof, can be nirgash, bizla matamata. Yeah, ve'han shein kametzias, shein kametzias, ein kametzias, shef shalitna. A Kovetz Shloime is called Madrigas Eshu, B'chinas Metzias. That's the ein Zach. The Seder Mizu, the Hine, Kivan, she calls in the Sinna says Lan Shechaya. The Hither is another word. What's the purpose why I give you the answer? The whole context of the Maamar. We get the Eitzer, B'chdei, the Rayichim, Matzliach, in the Zavayda of Lashes, Leis, Bar, Dere B'tachtein, Vatal, the Metzias, Shal Yitzchak Namocham. And this Eitzer is, to give a Yid a Teikef, is on the Shespal Veren for the Lamas Vestate. It's the Pashtus. It shouldn't be the Spal from the Lamas Vestate, and you have in Yonim, you have a person, you have Minias V'Kuvim, that inside the fact that he understands how precious the Holocaust is, so he's not going to be the sport from the Minias V'Kuvim. You have a stark Minias V'Kuvim. Seichel Alein is nicht genug. You have to have a take it from the Darg of Eitzer, take it from Pnimis Anasham, or take it from the Etzem of Holocaust, in order to overcome all the Alamas Vestate. So the Rebbe sagt das eh. So, hier in Kimish calls in the Sim Zedan Shechal B'Shon Nesacham Muhammad, they move, Shem Duber Madrege Kazu, Shnegeh LaMelech, Legalis, Erzene, V'chefze, Lehetzin, Yitzcheni. I don't think this lashon is punkt, wie steht dort, the Rebbe said it, but in the Anoche, Friedrich Anoche, a bisschen anders. But let's see what it says. Legalis, Lehetzin, Lehetzin, Yitzcheni, Lehetzin, Yitzcheni, Shechefze, Yitzcheni. V'asibel Lekachit, V'shesh Menaged, Meniyah. There's a lot of words here. Let's go. Moving. Let's see moving. Right. I remember, not I remember from Dosh Chavav, but who state is by there?
In the first, before this.
He goes right away to the Rebbe. This. The next thing that says when in the that's the first thing that says. Da hate the that's with the third nikuda which is right over there. So we'll start with the huh? Yeah. So we'll start with the achlata. Huh?
The beginning.
What I said to say is different. With some of yeah, no. Yeah, but that's okay.
The way you said it, that's how they said it.
Right. But it doesn't change the teichen.
He said that after he says the hafif dafke in the Maamar Lula, then he brings Vigami Emotion and some of
Right. The main hecher is from the Tafshil Yud. We can echazem some of but that's not the main. It's not Eish
the same way you're saying the whole thing is dafke after brings some of then he says that it's nishkul.
Good, but that's the teichen that he's saying. But the main thing is from the Hemshech Elul. I think it says again the main thing is Hemshech Elul. I think it says that. I looked at the okay. Anyways, but so first thing, the next point is over here. It says because we're giving this Eitzer, so then what's negeh is a few lines further. Umuvan. See where it is on page Lamed. Umuvan. Then we'll go back to what the point that it says before. Umuvan shekol zel l'shayv hadeges hayechelis. Why? By yechelis lahoyer by yechelis shalei lahoyer him b'shavim mamish. Maamar Chazal says the ein yedeh be'ezim chafetz. Masiyam shel sadikim, masiyam shel rishayim. The Rebbe says, what do you mean ein yedeh be'ezim chafetz? In other words, what the Rebbe is saying is inside the dark of yechelis, you say there's the chelis lahoyer. There's the mitzad the fact that he's ein safek could be begilui. His answer can be behelam too. He's not gili is nishkin inyan. It can stay behelam. So where's the difference between my same shel rishayim is my same shdira lekus is not begilui. My same shel sadikim is my same shdira lekus is begilui. Where does it make a difference, gili and heaven? If you speak about the maisim, here there's a maisim that lekus is begilui, and here there's a maisim that lekus is behelam. But if there's before there's a concept of maisim, before there's a concept of mitzias, there's an eibush there. If the only factor is the fact that he's Ein Sof, the fact that you have a maisim that there is not Meir lekus doesn't ishmael of a Meir. The nekuda is that he's Ein Sof, and he's not muchach in anything. If he wants, he can be open. If he wants, he can be beheaded. They say, but there's going to be there's no shivas to the fact that, but there's a mitzadi, there's a place which there Lukus is not English. Yechelis is before there's a mitzias. There's no reality. There's the Eibush just ain't sub. You see, he's ain't sub because I'm beginner because I'm behelim. So if he's behelim, so then there's a shayim which aren't aware of it. Mitzad Yechelis there's no mitzias. The only reality is the heder agdar of the etzem, and the etzem is ain't sub. Where's the chisaron, so to speak? Mitzad masim shel shayim. That the you have a mokim, you have a mitzias, but don't have to lukus. Where is negeya that there's a mokim, there's mitzad mitzias. Once there's a mitzias, mitzad yechedesh shalei lahoyer, there's a mitzias va'elam mashdira lukus. It's not Meir. So that's not the hesem of the emes of lukus. But mitzad the dargiv yecheles, there is no mitzias. The only factor is his ein sof, his heder agdar. His heder agdar is ein sof. You see what I'm saying? There is no concept of reality. When there's a concept of reality, so then there's a nivra which is bottled to lukus. And the nivra, that's a yesh. Mitzad yecheles, there's no nivra. There's no concept of a nivra. There's the Eibusha which he's Ein Sof. He's Ein Sof. He can be in any form. So the fact that there's a Rasha which is not aware of him, there's no. Once the lukus becomes a mocker for a mitzias, and it's negeh for the mitzias to be behesim with him. So then Rishayim are mitzias to just not behesim with him. Because by them it's not Nirga Shalukus. So Dargi Yechelis before there's a concept of Mitzias. There's no Yachas in Mitzias. The only reality is his Ein Sof. And if it's Mitzad Yechelis, Akum Araktim Be'echolim. That's Nishke Stira to the Achlas Mitzad Yechelis. What's going on in Mitzias doesn't affect the truth the way it is Mitzad Yechelis. Yechelis is before there's a concept of Mitzias. There's no, and he's Heder Agdar. So there, it's not the whole musik of the Nitzina Seitzer is in order to be shayla legamri in Rav Hela Behester, so zan gidei lekos to be vatal the menagid. Vatal menagid is only shaychus once there's a mitzias, and then it's neged that the Eibishter's truth should be Meir. Every mitzias should be chader with a lekos. A place which there lekos is not Meir, masem sharashayim is dartnish Meir lekos. And I'm saying is something to say. There's a place which they're not aware of a lekos. But you say, why is it a stira? The Eibush, this brings out the Eibish's Kol Yachol. The Eibish's Kol Yachol, and therefore he could hide himself. But let's say this Mitzvah is aware of the fact that his Inyani is to bring out the Eibish's Kol Yachol. The Mitzvah from his own point of view, Inyani is Piru. So there's a place which is not Behesim Talakus. Mitzad the vantage point of the Eibish's Ein Sof, it's not a stira. From the vantage point of Yechelis, it's not a stira, this Akam Akam Beichol. Because from his point of view, it's all an expression of his Blikvot. But from the point of view of Gidra Mitzvahs, from the point of view of the system of reality, here's a Rasha which is not aware of a Lukus. So so that's only when is the Shaykh to say that it's Negea to us. The Nukud is the Eibusher is Ered Lovadik. And this emes has to be Begoli everywhere. Mitzad Yecheles, there is no reality of everywhere outside of the fact that he's Kol Yachol. From the point of view of Kol Yachol, Akum Rasha is the same Indian of Achtas Hashem as a Tzaddik. Both of them are an expression of the fact that Eibusher's had the Agdal. But from the point of view of the rules of reality, it's at the point of view of Gvul, of Gedra Mitzias, let's say, so this is a Makim, this is a Mitzias which is Batal Tolukus, and this is a Mitzias which is not Batal Tolukus. Saying the Akom Miraktim Be'echole, that's Hepa Tolukus. From the point of view of Yechelis, this is also an expression of Tolukus. Because it's at the point of view of Yechelis, is the fact that there's a musik of Helen is to bring out the Eibusher's Heder Agdal. That's from the vantage point of Ein Sof. But from the vantage point of the Mitzias, of the world, this is a Mitzias which is independent from a Lukus. So they're going to Vu Heitzachon the musik that there's a Mitzias. That starts in Earth. In Earth is that there's a reality which there the truth is expressed. And Meir, there's a reality which is Davak Tolukus, there's a reality that's not Davak Tolukus. And Mitzad Eir is Negeya, Dart Heitzachon the musik of Gidra Mitzias. And there's already it's Negeya, there's a Makim, there's a Mitzias, which is not Drukim with Holocaust. And the truth is, the Kavanah Sa'etzim, there should be Eir. The Kavanah Sa'etzim is not that we should stay in the dark of Yechelis. Yechelis means he's removed from reality. Though there is no concept of Mitzias. The Kavanah Sa'etzim is there should be a Mitzias. And there should be the rules of Mitzias. And within the rules of Mitzias, Zalmeir is an Holocaust. The emes of Holocaust. The emes of Atzim.
So why are we saying it's not Negeya to the Atzim?
Mitzad Yechelis is the way Holocaust is not being mupshit from Mitzias. There is no Gidra Mitzias. There's him.
No, so that I understand, but then that means there's a place that Torah Mitzvahs aren't Negeya to.
So that's a different discussion. But That's a different discussion, but the way that I was saying here, there is, you say, the Eddie Dei Beis Yom Chafetz. That's a general question. Besides the Kavanas Ha'atzmos, the fact that why is there why did everything stay in the state of Yechelis? Because the Kavanas Ha'atzmos says there should be not Yechelis. The Kavanah is not that that there shouldn't be in Amitzis, and everything should be Bashvar. Mitzad Yechelis, it's like there's no hell of a hester. There's no hell of there's no giving. Mitzad Yechelis, there's only the fact that he's saying so. But the Kavanas Ha'atzmos says there should be a reality, and the reality should have its rules. And from the point of view of the rules of the Mitzis, it should be Turkin with Holocaust. And so that concept is a reality which there's a Mitzis, that's there's a Mitzis in certain heads of the Lems. Or there's a Mitzis in certain heads of Nish the Lems. And Mitzad it's a problem. Because is that the Elokus comes in a form, Elokus is Meir, the Mitzis. And the place of Hell of Hesher, Elokus is Nish Meir. Mitzad Argi V'cheles before there was the concept of Mitzis. So it's Nish Neged, it's Akam Rak Bechol. Huh? So mitzad when I'm saying mitzad v'cheles, Rishoyim is the same achdus as tzaddikim. Huh? If it's nishtak in Rishoyim, if the whole mitzvah of Rishoyim is his ein sof, his head ragbar. Yeah. No, so they say vu hat sich angegeben the hechlet that Rishoyim is mufre, Rishoyim is that's mitzad Mitzad there's gidra mitzvahs. There's a mitzvahs ham mufre, there's a mitzvahs which is miyuchid. What I'm saying is mitzad yecheles, so to speak, he's not affected by the fact that there's a place which is a stereotype. Because his truth is not mitzad gidra mitzvahs. See, the Eibishter is present, not with the fact that we're aware of it. His presence here is not affected by whether we're aware of him or not. So mitzad that darge, whether we are of him or not aware of him, it doesn't change the truth of the mitzvahs. Yechelis is the way the Elokus' truth is before this darim of mitzvahs. Can sein Rishoyim was tanzen has something to do with his einzah. Mashegi mitzad the Elokus is nimtza in the parameters of a mitzvahs, the parameters of Gidra and Nevrah. So from the point of view of Rishoyim is a stirit, it's a dik. This is a kelim, this is not a kelim for this. So that's the second Indian that Rebbe says. The first Indian is that because it's Indian that in Rav Geben Agibis Indian. And the second Indian is that the whole Indian of the Eitzer is given in order l'natzech samol chame. So the Rebbe's first Indian is that the kavanah of the Eitzer is it should have ashpa on the person. He should live with it. He should live with it. There has to be an Indian which is behergish, not a dargi becheles, which is not a mitzvah at all. The zweite Sache is not only because we want to give it to the chayol. Was will man ufta mit der Eitzer? Man will that the halom is vestedim the menatzeach the menagid. So it has to be a murgish that the menagid is stirit alakus, and the emes of alakus is mechayiv even machad the menagid. Mitzad yecheles there's no mitzvah of menagid altogether. If someone that he doesn't care, these people driving in Shabbos because chveizer anyway Yisrael Shachat Yisrael who and regardless of the chitzeni is b'primis is a yid. So I'm not negeh. It's not negeh that it should be mizbat in mitzias, the fact that he's a yid. It's not negeh that it should be expressed in mitzias. It's just like a mitzias. So da yid, but it's nicht does it. There is a mitzias, and the kavanah is that in this mitzias should be behesen to the emes. And not the mitzias should be behesen to the emes because we cancel the mitzias. That's inside the cheles. The reason why Masem Shirashayim is a keli ta'achtos because there's no gather of Masem Shirashayim. The only thing is the Eivish is head Agdar. So someone says Yidden driving in Shabbos, it brings out how the neshama is not mukdar and even the Eivish verschiedene Sachen. So what brings out the son's connection to the father? That even though he's not like the father, still he's connected. But what he's doing is detached. But what he's doing, who cares about what he's doing? We're the only reality is how strong, how infinite the kesher to the Avos. I the tzir of the Venice Tegnish. The kavanah is that Elokus should be not mitzad looking at Ein Sof. It should be become makim. Mitzad every phase of reality should be become makim. So for that is negeh. says, Father, we was not mad, she is when Kovetz. Look at people, she said this, Khlik she not Kovetz, Kovetz, so primis rats in all the many days mem rates. Well, any idea is mem Kovetz. I'm not sure what we can learn of the Shaila in different ways. What the Rebbe means. I mean, the Rebbe means here that Avada the Shaila is the Kovetz Avada who gets primis rats is in Yonim, which Masem Shadik which in Yonim is Gilead. Should be no disturbance. And who gets Masem Sharishaim. Wo gefindt sich Masem Sherishaim is in Mashigin Masem Sherishaim. It's Chetzeni Yisadas. The Eibusher wants Masem Sherishaim for Bechira, for other Inyan. So the Lashon should have been in Edei Ezim Em Leitzer. I'm saying the Lashon the way it is here. But the Lashon Ezim Em Chavetz. The Mashma says that there's a Svarda, that there's Chayfetz. It means that the truth of Elokus is also present in Masem Sherishaim. How could they say that? Because Lagabi Yecheles, there's no mitzias of Masem Sherishaim. The whole thing is the heter agdara of that. So after achinish, it means not being begile and yet being begile. There's no yachas to the tzir of not gile. There's no chshivas of hell. There's no shakin from hell. So the aintzaf shtak in hell and begile. And my is with Maamar is when Kovetz. We call it lohari, we call it shleilar.
Why is the name of the Kovetz?
No, this Zayn Pnimis is the shav in both tnuas. It's written in I'm saying al derech, like Yecheles is al derech, the darg of Goyel. There's a darg over there. He's indifferent to anything. There's no yachas to Gili, no yachas to hell. There's ain't so. Gili dish kemad legabiyem, hell dish kemad legabiyem. Nothing touches him. Nothing affects him. The Kavanas Etzim is not that this mitzadatim nothing except, but the Kavanas Etzim is that there should be mitzias, and the mitzias should be in sync with him. But that's all mitzadarg of where there's the way Elokus comes in the Gdarim of mitzias. He's present within the parameters of mitzias.
So it's not just that there is a chayfetz in the bad things. There's the chayfetz is in anywhere.
Exactly. Mitzadarg is b'shalom mamish. It's his ain't stuff. There's no bad things means hell from Elokus. But mitzadarg of Yecheles, what's hell and his ain't stuff. There's no yachas to the tzir of Helen Behester as a tzir.
Right.
Yeah, there is a Maamar, it's Basha the Gani Tafshalam and Aleph. Darton is but I don't know if that's, I mean, Kenes ein Taish in the Lashon here also, but there's a different part. There also, the Rebbe teaches that there's whole Teres of Hashem Tov. That what's the Pshat any day Bezim Em Chafetz, because through Masem Sherishaim, that's a different word over there.
Tshuva.
That's a different word. That through Masem Sherishaim brings out also, I think it's a little bit different than the Hadgosh here. I have to see the Lashon inside, but it's a little bit different than the Hadgosh here. He does the zweite word. He says, move on, she said, Madreges, hey, Chetos, Shalom Shnei Gelam Elchen Eitzach, and Amanakit, Shal Zay Nisim Seitzer. Shali calls the Lishayach, Rak La'achri, Sheyesh, Nachlot Gemura, the Sharot and Beifin Kach Vakach means once it's nicked by the Metzias. This has a Shaychus to Lukus, this doesn't have a Shaychus to Lukus. That Shaychus in Tzir. Bittul has a Shaychus in, and Hedra Bittul is not that once there's a Metzias. What relates to him, what doesn't relate to him. There is no Metzias. There's only his Ein Sof. Mashikim said, there's the way Elokus comes in a form of Metzias. So there's a strain of reality that suits him, that there he's Meir, there he's present, and there's a form of reality which is a stiritim. And Yamot is Negeya that it should be Bivatal the Managid. Yeah, it's in the Pratim in there. This is something done in Alkin Cardo, but we're not learning. There's Inyanim here. Okay. Then the Rebbe adds another prat, a third prat, and that is in this vert over here. But I don't know if you have the. It doesn't sound like this is once the Rebbe says this word as derech hechlit. So behemshech lazeh the Rebbe says and b'meil it's negeya that there's a tfisas magim to the tzir of the menagid to the mitzias, and meil there's a mitzias which is menagid, which is meir chayav. That's the hadgosh. Das kommt nach der Wort. Once we say that it's at the darg of there's a tfisas magim to mitzias, and mitzad the darg of there is no tzir of hell. There's not Indian of Helen. So the other Etzem, which is Ein Sof. Mitzad the Darga of Eir, there's a Tzir of Gili, there's a Tzir of Helen. And Mitzad the Tzir of Helen is a Stirit of this. So then Zog the Rebbe, and what's the Tzir of this Helen? That even that's Menagit to the Etzem HaMelech. That's the hemshech to this word. It's not before. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that's what I think anyways. So we'll see it here, but I think it comes after the Sadgosh. So now we'll go back to once much an upgetesh. The mitzad yichel, there is no Indian of shalei. What's the Dagger yichel? There's no Gili is not a mile, Helam is not a mile. These concepts don't exist. His Ein Sof. Mashegim mitzad there's a concept of Gili, there's a concept of Helam, and the Eivish is blig vol is kernel both. But there is a tzir of Gili and Helam, and then the tzir of Helam is a stirat alakus. If it's not nirgash demis, mitzad Dagger. And the male now the Rebbe is going to explain when there's a menagid. And now, once we establish that mitzad there's neged the reality that we experience. Now the Rebbe is saying what the minagid which exists in this world, this is not the hemshach to the word to be chayvus. This is once we establish already that mitzad there's achlot because there's already a tzir of chiyuv and shlila. So now there's two different types of minagdim. There's certain minagdim that only affect the giluyim of the melech. See, someone is a stira to you on a position that doesn't make you give away your life in order to overcome this opposition. But then there's opposition that was done that etzem hamelech, and for that in order to be battle that menag, he's ready lahash l'chayiv menag. That's what the Rebbe is going to speak now. Etzem chayiv hamelech. So this is who is this?
You see your Misa?
Yeah, I'm saying, well, you see from these, I'm not saying, a lot of these Maamar, you don't know what's if you don't have it's Shver Sevisnamo, what
He starts off saying,
in the Nusach there's a new Indian? But it's the Hemshach to this word. I'm saying, once we establish this word, that's Negeh Tzir, then it's Sazas Tzir, which is Negeh B'etzem HaMelech. This is not the Hesem to the word to be Chelis and Negeh. Once there's a Tfisas Magim to the Mitzir of Shlila, so now this Sazas Tzir Menaged was Basrir on the Etzem HaMelech. That was with me. So now he says, say to Mizu, Kivan Shkos in the Lach Shechav Shalom Zachar Muhammad. Okay, this the Rebbe speaks. I'm not going to say this word Balpeh. The Rebbe says it a few times that you have the marshal Satan Chassidus, you have a Menaged, you have the marshal. There's the Sheva Umes and Amalek. So the Sheva Umes, you say they're not the idea. The reason why someone has a type, what's hot to that type? Because it's not Meir by him how Lukus is the best thing. So if you can explain to him because it's the best thing or because it's more geschmack, he's going to leave his type. Now he thinks Shalom has the geschmack shazaf. He'll change his mind. Amalek is yedeh sebeni mecham libud. There is the remes. He has no. It's not, the issue is not that he's not aware of the truth. His issue is he's aware of the truth, but he wants to maintain himself. It's a yeshis unattached. The fact that the fact that he doesn't want to give away himself, doesn't want to invite himself to Lukus, not because he has a reason for it. Because joy is ba'avasi. His Indian is his ich on a cheshbon, on a time. His mitzias v'yihima. That's a menage to atzmos. Someone that he likes, that the reason why his nimshach elam has is because he pushes clueless. It's not a menage to the mitzias etz. He's not aware of the yaker of a lukus. So he opposes giluim. So someone's trying to explain to you how good a lukus is, and you're maya fashtet fakir. So you're not a keli to the Havana Basaga of the Yeker Relukus. But the clip of Amalek, the Nadi is a problem. He understands very well the Ali Elohim Ba'afleis Relukus. But his yeshis is unagbal. Without a reason. His existence and his ego and his self is, regardless of whether it's right or wrong, he's not giving away himself. This self has a certain kibbutz beyond cheshbonus. That's an opposition to the Mitzias Atzmos, which his existence is also it is without reasoning, without having a base outside of it. It is farad. So the menag, the lu'umazeh, so to speak, to the Metzias Atzmos is yeshes anatam. See, Atzmos is Atzmos is Tzisim Atzmos. His being is because he's in existence. So if someone that what's para Metzias, it is farad. Seklap yes, seklap dish, it is farad. He's not dependent on anything. He independently exists, and no one's going to take away my yeshus, my ego.
You mean atzmos, or you mean etzema, or like you mean?
The Rebbe attaches to atzmos. I'm saying, but the Rebbe, is not a yerida over here. Why is there kavanas etzem is The Rebbe's not speaking as a lower darga than yechelis. It's not, the Hadgashi here is not lower. The Hadgashi is, it's negea and not yechelis. It happens to be the premise, it's a mile in there. The fact that we're giving it in a smaga to mitzias, and even from the vantage point of mitzias, there has to be a redel body. That's because that's the kavanas etzem. It's not a... So that's being to the what's made by the melech? The Ratzon Lahitzi Nitzchene with Dafkum, there's a menagid. That's speaking of Maamar of Shiur, Dafkum, there's a menagid that brings out within the melech that he's going to give away anything in order to lenatzech some menagid. Regularly, when there's no menagid, so it's manik malchus. You don't see how much his malchus and you say incorporating his values are negeh b'chayim. It's not meir in a regular day. When there's a menagid, yamal zetra, these values and they should be implemented are negeh l'atzmis chayim. So that's figures with the most. So blame menagid in the sheikh nesach klal. Manik malchus ikechetze. But kashchaf is not v'yesh menagid. This is not position to what he wants. Oz emet v'nisan connecting mitzvah nitzchani and be'ebin v'vaz is called itzrus. The gam chayev mashtach amelech menagid. The Rebbe said it. You have it in the gam chayev mashtach menagid. Be'emet ba'atzim v'kishalom. Huh? Oh, Heinisch is going to get it. So that was in the Nimshal. When there's a menagid that says Leidagi is Havayeh, he's a menagid, he's a lumazet to the etzem. His idea is to be mechavan limit. Means erase the remes. If I was, why aren't you achnei yourself? Because his ich has no agbalos. So that's a lumazet to the ich of atzmos, which is an ich on a cheshbon, not based on a reason, beyond any reason. Hariz negeh, let it give b'chinas hagilim, el b'chinas ha'etzem Shloime. And the mele and this after we established that there's a helam is there's a tzir of helam v'hester, which that's all mitzadin of and what type of tzir is it? Zazash helam v'hester, which is a lu'umah zetatzis. The mele it's negeh, dinin anitzachin lenatzech es amanagit.